You won't believe the harrowing secret that once gripped a peaceful African village. Rumors of a newcomer's unsettling obsession sent shockwaves through every household, stirring fear and suspicion in a community that prided itself on kindness and unity. People whispered about what she did behind closed doors, but no one was prepared for the chilling truth that would soon rock them all. Deep in a region known for its green fields and lively markets lay the quiet village of Ilo. Families here spent their days happily farming and fetching water from the nearby river. Women carried clay pots on their heads, children laughed while racing down dusty paths, and men returned from the fields at dusk, exchanging friendly banter. It was the sort of place where everyone greeted everyone, and neighbors had each other's backs. Then, one late afternoon, a woman named Yide walked into ILO. She had only a small, tattered bag slung over her shoulder and wore a faded wrapper that gave away the hardships of her travels. Normally, villagers rushed to greet strangers, offering water and a place to rest. But when they approached her, smiling and waving, Yide didn't reply. She never even lifted her gaze. Instead, she kept walking, straight toward the outskirts of the village, where she claimed an abandoned hut for herself. A hush fell over the onlookers. Polite gestures went unanswered. Warm smiles received no acknowledgement. Some shrugged it off, believing she must be exhausted. Others whispered that no traveler had ever set foot in ILO without a single word of thanks. Something felt unnatural about her silence. As days passed, Yide was seen frequently roaming the marketplace or the village paths with one striking habit. She constantly brought dogs back to her hut. She'd buy them from a man named Olu, who ran a modest kennel near the edge of town, then bring them inside her dilapidated home. Within a day, she'd show up again at Olu's place, offering to sell those same dogs, sometimes at a loss. Then she'd buy new ones. The villagers, always respectful of personal space, were nonetheless baffled. Why did she need so many dogs? Some reason maybe she was lonely and seeking protection. Others muttered that her behavior went far beyond loneliness. Despite all the glances and gossip, Yide maintained the same stony silence. No greetings, no polite chit-chat at the market. She refused to smile or show any expression. It was as if her world began and ended with the dogs she endlessly exchanged. Before long, a bizarre pattern emerged. Dogs that were usually friendly, playful with children and affectionate toward owners, began acting hostile whenever Yide drew near. Their barking wasn't the typical warning yelp, but a deep, furious clamor that sent shivers down spines. Passing by people's homes, she left a chorus of snarls in her wake. At first, villagers chalked it up to coincidence. Dogs bark at strangers, after all. But the intensity of this barking, coupled with Yide's cold demeanor, sparked a flurry of rumors. Children were warned to steer clear of her dwelling, and parents whispered about curses and dark spirits. Olu, the dog seller, grew uneasy as well. He noticed the animals cowering or baring their teeth whenever she arrived, though he couldn't say why. Oddly enough, Yide seemed undaunted by their aggression, which only intensified everyone's suspicions. As the weeks went by, the spectacle of ferocious barking haunted every corner of the village. More and more people called her the Dog Woman, speculating that maybe she conjured evil forces or harbored a sinister secret. Mothers clutched their children's hands when she ambled by. Men nervously glanced over their shoulders whenever they saw her. In hushed conversations, suggestions to expel her from ILO surfaced. She doesn't belong here. She brings only trouble. Yet the village elder, Baba Alade, hesitated. He was known for his calm wisdom, but rumors swirled that he might have taken Olu's hush money, profits from all those dog transactions that were proving too lucrative for some to resist. Still, a sense of dread settled over ILO. Even the singing birds seemed quieter, as if unsettled by the heavy cloud of mystery surrounding Yide. The breaking point arrived on a blisteringly hot afternoon. Sunlight flooded the village square where vendors sold fresh produce and children raced each other barefoot. Suddenly, dogs from every corner rushed in. They growled, snarled, and panted, all converging on one spot. Before long, an eerie circle of canines formed around Yide. As if drawn by a signal only they could hear, more dogs, big and small, mangy and healthy, joined the pack. Each bark was laced with anger, each growl pulsed with threat. The villagers froze, watching in horror. For the first time, they saw fear in Yide's eyes. She clutched her little bag tightly, backing away as the howling intensified. And in that frantic moment, she did the unthinkable. She spoke. Her voice cut through the cacophony of snarls. "Help me," she pleaded. "Please, help me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. No one had heard her speak before. Shocked, they hesitated. Then, an old man with a strong voice stepped forward, calling for quiet among both villagers and dogs. "We cannot help you unless you tell us the truth," he warned. "Confess what you've done." Under the fearful gaze of the entire community and the relentless barking of the dogs, Yide broke down. Tearful, trembling, she revealed the horrifying truth. She had been doing unspeakable acts with the animals she bought. It was more than just companionship or an odd hobby. It was a disturbing physical fixation she claimed she couldn't control, as though some dark presence manipulated her desires. Cries of revulsion and anger erupted. Children were ushered away, and even the dog's barks seemed to turn into menacing howls, as if they understood her confession. It was an unimaginable violation of both nature and morality. The villagers demanded that she leave immediately, calling her a bringer of shame and evil. Yet one elder interjected. He insisted that simply driving her out could doom another place to the same dark corruption. "We must attempt a cleansing," he said gravely. "If we cast her away with the spirit inside her, more innocent lives might suffer." Together, they brought a sobbing, terrified Yide to Elo's sacred river, a place known for powerful rites to rid the possessed of dark spirits. The water's surface shimmered under the sun as the elder instructed everyone to hold palm leaves close to their faces, a traditional practice believed to shield them from passing spirits. Two strong men, reciting protective chants, dragged Yide into the shallow water. No sooner had her feet touched the riverbed than an otherworldly force seemed to take hold. Yide's sobs mutated into guttural growls, her body convulsed, and the current around her thrashed violently. A dark, shadowy form, visible only by the flicker of red in its eyes, rose from her shaking body. A hush fell over the gathered crowd as the elder threw a special powder in the air, crafted from potent herbs and charred bones. It glowed faintly, trapping the swirling darkness. People watched in awe as the black spirit screeched and writhed, only to be banished into a blue, otherworldly flame the elder summoned. Moments later, the shadow was gone. In an instant, Yide collapsed, pale and exhausted, but unmistakably free. The villagers pulled her from the riverbank, relief washing over them almost as tangibly as the water itself. The presence that had clung to her was destroyed, but a stunned quiet settled in the crowd. The deed was done, though no one knew how deeply the evil had already spread. In the days following the ritual, Yide lay bedridden in her small hut, tended by the village healer. She had painful sores and infections from her disturbing experiences, and she needed potent herbal remedies. As she rested, fragments of her former life surfaced in her memory. Faint images of a family, a home in another village, children she remembered dimly. Meanwhile, word spread that Olu, the kennel owner, discovered the money he'd hoarded from Yide's dog purchases had inexplicably turned into black ash. Panicked, he told others about his massive loss, and villagers concluded it was never real money at all, just another grim manifestation of the dark force that had possessed her. Baba Alade, rumored to have accepted part of this ill-gotten wealth, cowered in shame. His silence had nearly doomed Ilo to a wicked fate, all for the promise of easy riches. Though tongues still wagged about her crimes, a mixture of pity and relief arose for the now liberated Yide. She looked fragile, like a victim caught in the snare of a greater evil. The villagers at last saw a human being behind the terror. As her strength returned, Yide felt a growing need to return to her own village. She recalled the outlines of a past, a husband, 2 children, and a small home she dearly loved. Unsure what she would find, she packed her meager belongings. Many in ILO still distrusted her, but some offered bread and water, murmuring cautious well wishes. She left quietly at dawn, stepping onto the dusty road that stretched between farmland and dense forests. Days of travel passed, but she pressed on, spurred by the memory of her children's smiles. The shame of her ordeal was heavy, yet the hope of reuniting with her family carried her forward. At last, she arrived in her home village. Heart pounding, she recognized the faded walls of her old house. only to find an unsettling sight. Her old friend Fake had taken over, and inside, Yide's children were dressed in rags, scrubbing floors under Fake's cruel commands. Her husband sat nearby, staring blankly, as though in a spellbound trance. Rage and heartbreak clashed in Yide's chest. In a single moment, Fake glimpsed the returning wife and let out a shriek, realizing her plot was unraveling. The woman's dark enchantment that had replaced Yide in the family's life was shattered the moment their eyes met. Her husband blinked, struggling free of the supernatural hold, and recognized Yide. The children ran to her, tears streaming down their faces. Their mother had finally come back. As they clung to her, Fake stumbled away, terrified, screaming about how the plan she'd set in motion was undone. "I'm finished," Fake cried, fleeing to a local juju man and begging for help. But the cost of using dark magic to steal another's home couldn't be reversed so simply. The juju man reportedly told her she had invoked a curse of her own making. Within hours, Fake found her legs paralyzed. Exactly the punishment for misusing black spells out of envy and greed. At last, Yide was home, reunited with the family she had thought she'd lost forever. In tears, they embraced her, while neighbors gathered, learning about the twisted net of sorcery that had lured her away and cursed her with an unthinkable obsession. Now free from the dark spirit, she held her children close, grateful to feel their warmth instead of the cold presence that had haunted her for so long. The lessons left behind were unmistakable. Evil, fueled by jealousy or greed, can spread quickly, staining everything it touches. Some illusions of wealth and power prove fleeting, mere ash once the darkness recedes. And sometimes, the greatest act of courage is refusing to let fear or shame consume you. So what do you think? Had the village not intervened, would Yide ever have broken free? Could Fake have gone unpunished? It's a haunting reminder that the choices we make, whether from malice or mercy, can change destinies forever. If this story intrigued you, share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe for more revealing tales, and remember, every hidden truth eventually finds its way into the light.